Hi friends, Mindy here. I have a quick process video for you. This is for the gratitude project from Bythewell4God. This is the first couple of days that I have created. And just kind of doing a little flip there. And then I'm going to work through day 3 today. I have some paper down on my work surface here, and I think that is a little bit affecting my camera, so I'm sorry about the weird kind of lighting, but what I'm going to be using is this beautiful Braille paper, and this was given to me by my sweet friend Brenda, and so if you're watching, Brenda, thank you. But this paper is so amazing. It is so fun to work with. I would love to have like just a ream of this paper, even, before it has been punched. It's so cool, this paper. So I'm using a bunch of Distress Oxide sprays, and it just reacts really interesting on this paper. So I sprayed this paper quite generously with water before I put any ink down. And I'm using several different inks. I have Gathered Twigs, Walnut Stain, that was some Spiced Marmalade, I think, that I just put there. I also used some Vintage Photo, a little tiny bit of Hickory Smoke, and some tea dye of the actual ink, the Distress ink, not the spray, not the oxide spray. And I'm just going to go in here and just kind of keep working this until I get the effect that I like. And so the paper is wet right now, but it's just absorbing the color really in like a really unique way. I don't know if you can kind of see it. And so this is the back side. I'm just kind of dabbing some of this off. All of this is wet right here. You can see some of the oxidization is already happening. Some of it isn't happening because this paper just like kind of absorbed everything. So in between layers, I'm kind of drying everything, and you can kind of see it on camera how quickly it just kind of absorbs this ink, and it just ended up with some really fun effects and a really cool finish to it. So I'm just going to go back and forth here kind of with different colors until I get sort of the look that I'm after. At one point, I probably could have stopped and it would have been fine, and then I just kept going because I was having kind of too much fun playing with this paper. Also, one of the inks that I had kind of, when it oxidized, it had like a more gray tones to it, but you can kind of see like right here, this is where I really could have stopped, and it would have just been fine, but there were some areas that were still kind of mottled looking, so I just kind of went back in and added some more. This was Spiced Marmalade here that I went in and added, and I don't have all of the oxide sprays, so I just kind of went with the ones that I have, but and then I have one that just decided to leak all over me, so I'm just making a huge mess. But I was just having so much fun with this, and I'm working on this under paper on purpose because I want to be able to use all of that. So all that ink that's going across my desk there, I will be able to use that because I'm just working on some like packaging paper or some like newsprint, and so I'll be able to use that in collage or with other things later on down the road, so it won't be like wasted ink. I like to work on drop papers like that whenever I'm doing this kind of mixed media stuff. So you can see I went back and forth between drying it, adding layers, adding water, dabbing some up here, because it's going to react again. It's oxide inks, so anytime you spray water on it, it's going to react. Anytime you add a color, it's going to react. And it just did some really, really fun and cool things on this paper. So like I said, I dried it. Sometimes I dried it completely and added a layer. Sometimes I just made it so that it was mostly dry. I went back in and just with a little sprayer, just did some droplets of ink color on there as well, just to try to get some different textures, some like visual texture on there. And I'm telling you, this paper, like there is a lot of ink and a lot of water in this paper, and it didn't tear or anything. You can see how beautiful it ended up. I love how this paper turned out. This is what the backside looks like. I even think that looks cool. But what I'm going to do is actually use this for the cover, the front of my tag. And I have these little leaves that I cut out. This is a Tim Holtz die that I used, and I used a paper from Bythewell4God from their devotional kit for the month of November, and I just cut it out of there, so it would just give me that kind of natural different colors and stuff in there. But I decided I wanted to add just a little bit of color to this area that I'm going to be cutting out, and so I'm using rusty hinge, and then I'll go in with a little bit of wild honey at some point too, just adding a little bit of, I wanted kind of to bring in some of that more orangey color on there. And so you can kind of see in that section where I added that, it just reacted really interesting with when I added the actual distress ink as well. So I went ahead and dried that just to make sure everything was good and dry with my heat tool. And then I'm just going to glue this down to the front of my tag. I've already written out the scriptures on the back. And so I'm just trying to dab up some of this ink that was kind of left over. And I'm trying to figure out exactly where I wanted this. On the right side, there was like, I don't know, maybe 1/2 inch margin where there wasn't any of the braille printing, and I wanted the whole thing to have that texture. So I'm going to add a good bit of glue here because this paper is textured, and I just want to make sure that it's going to stick down really well. So I'm just gluing that, and then I will lay this down on top, and then I'm going to flip it over and just make sure that it's on there straight, because I wanted the lines, you know, from the braille to be straight. I didn't want it to be going uphill or anything. So there was a couple areas where I could see that it was already lifting up, that I didn't have enough glue. So just adding a little bit more glue, and then I will trim this down, and I will save this paper. I will use it in all of the things because I love it so much. I'm looking forward to playing with this paper some more and trying some other things to it with it, because it reacted so interesting with the Distress Oxide inks. I was not expecting it to kind of react that way. You know, normally when you add a lot of water and ink, you know, to paper, it can warp, it can do, and this just did not do any of that. So it was really a lot of fun to work with. So I went ahead and had to add a little bit more glue up there at the top, and I'm going to go around this with some this is not oxide, this is archival ink in ground espresso, just to add a little bit of darker shading around the outside of my tag. And it's kind of, I wish you could see it in person because it looks a lot different, but I just love how it looks. And here's where I'm coming in with that wild honey, just to add a little bit of highlight on some of the raised spots, and just to give it just a little bit more color variation as well. And then I'm going to kind of fiddle around with these leaves here just a bit to try to figure out which ones I want to use and how I want to have them on there. And then I decided I wanted to add a little ephemera piece, and I'm actually using, this is an old set of ephemera that I have. It's Simple Stories. I think it's called Vintage Country Harvest or something like that. I've had it forever. It was just in my stash. And so there was this little label that had like a little kind of teal pumpkin, and the colors just matched really well, actually, with the colors from the devotional kit from Bythewell4God this month. And so I'm going to probably be using these a lot in my little tags here. But I also wanted to add just a little bit of some interest down at the bottom. So I'm going to use some of this lace trim. I just got that at Hobby Lobby. And then I'm going to go around my leaves here as well with that same archival ink in ground espresso, and just trying to do the edges, but these leaves are, you know, super thin, so I'm just trying to make sure I don't get them too bent. And I'm just going to create basically a little cluster here down at the bottom. So I'm basically, you know, we're focusing on the attributes of God and being grateful for those. And so in terms of what I'm going to be doing on these tags, I'm really just writing out the scriptures. There's 2 or 3 every day that are referenced, and I just have those written out on the back, and then I will kind of focus on those and contemplate that while I'm doing the artwork on the front. I decided to add this little orange heart on the little label there, so I'm going to ink that up as well. And that's just how I'm going to be working through these tags. I also have the devotional kit that I'm going to be working through as well. I have a lot of projects actually for November that I'm working on, so I'm trying to keep some of them as simple as I can, so that I have the ability to get everything done. And I'm just mopping up some of that glue that kind of came out from behind that leaf. And then I will glue this last piece down here in this bottom left-hand corner just to create my little cluster. I really wanted those leaves to kind of be the focus with the background, so I didn't want to add a whole lot to them. And then here I'm just trimming off the little pieces of that trim that are sticking over the edge. The leaves stick over ever so slightly, but I left those like that. I wanted them to kind of be like that. And then I'm using the sticker that came with the little tag bob kit with the prompts for this label, and I'm going to just stick that down. But if you were not able to get the tag set, I know it sold out really fast, you can still get the prompt list and the scripture list. You can go on the Bythewell site and you can still access that information if you're wanting to join in for this focus on the attributes of God. It doesn't have to be in November. You could do it anytime. There's just really good information to focus on. So that is available on the website still. I will put my affiliate link down below, but that link is free for the prompts. And anyway, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and until next time, bye.